We are going to be studying Kabacoff book, and I've attached the link if you want a copy. We are going to have two code scripts that are provided by the author that I want to load into a project, and then I want to annotate those instructions or script comments that are being made so that I have some sense of how this script works. So let's just take a look. For example, in this video, I want to show you that I've taken the code of which this is the beginning part of it right here, and I'm going to annotate it as I work with it to make sure that I understand what it is that he's trying to teach me. And you notice immediately that I have changed the code a little bit, because in addition to annotating it with some notes or things I want to remember, is I also want to add my own ideas and my own code to begin to help me learn further. So for example, in his code, he creates an object in memory called age, but he does not below it type the word age, which is where you would actually see how that is really stored, how that object really exists in memory. And there you see, you get a better idea that age is a single vector, and that vector has about 10 different elements in it. The other thing that I've added as I read the book and as I think I want to learn more than just as in the standard code, I find out that if I have a function called length that's a part of the R package, that I can find out how many elements are in age. And so I've added that to my code. And then finally, I've also added to my code a class function that tells me what kind of data type I created when I created this vector called age. And in terms, it's a numeric vector. So I'm going to just jump on now down to where I've made some notes as well. But let me just run these other 4 instructions, and I'll move down here just a bit and show you some notes that I've added in addition to some code or new script that Kabacoff didn't have in his example. And I've taken the weight vector and I've added a function called head, weight, and 2. And I'm noting over here what that means, because if you're new to the R, you might find it useful to have learned that. But then if you come back without a note in your code, you might forget what it really does. And so this is pretty simple, and you probably don't need to do that. But in this particular case, what it's going to do is it's going to show me the first 2 records in the weight vector. And if I go back up here and look at that weight vector, for example, you can see that the first 2 elements are 4.4 and 5.3. So I'm hoping that when I execute this instruction, that it will show me those first 2 elements. And indeed it does. And then this is something else that I wanted to do, is I wanted to find out what's the 3rd element in the vector. And that will allow me to see that hopefully I see a 7.2 actually, and there it is. And then finally, I've added something else that I learned, and I put a note in my code, because these are things that I'm learning and that I'm experimenting with, and I'm writing myself a few notes so that I don't forget what it is that I have discovered and learned. In this case, what we would hope happen is that the 3rd element in the weight vector disappears, which is the 7.2 value. Let's just go ahead and see. And I have to, of course, as I mentioned above, I will run weight to see what we get. And you'll notice that 7.2 was disappeared. I go 4.4, 5.3, and then 5.2, etc. I think that will have to do it for this script and video, and thank you for joining me.